Welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. Today I am here to finally give my thoughts on Touchdown, the newest 18th studio album, or 19th if you count the We Are One collaboration release, from U.D.O, brought to you by the legendary former Accept singer himself, Udo Dirkschneider. Released back on August 25th via Atomic Fire Records. Without further ado, let's begin. Now, before I get into giving my thoughts on Touchdown, you know what I have to do. I have to do a track list rundown so I can tell you folks what are the songs that are on this album, how many tracks are on this album, and what's the time length for this album. Since this album consists a total of 13 tracks, it clocks in at the length of 53 minutes and 53 seconds. So these 13 tracks are, of course, beginning with Isolation Man, The Flood, The Double Dealers Club, Fight for the Right, Forever Free, Punchline, Sad Man's Show, The Betrayer, Heroes of Freedom, Better Start to Run, The Battle Understood, Living Hell, and then finally ending with the title track. So there you go, folks. There's your 13 tracks. You know what that sound is, folks? That is the sound of my notes that I'm about to read from. So, with releasing Game Over in 2021, and then last year with Udo releasing his covers album, U.D.O have come back here in 2023 with Touchdown. Not only is this the first to be released through Atomic Fire Records, it is also the first for Udo's former colleague, Peter Baltes, who had initially left Accept in 2018, which then marked 2017's The Rise of Chaos as his final outing with his long-running band. Of course, I covered The Rise of Chaos when it first was released in 2017, so that's documented. So with Peter finally joining Udo in U.D.O, just 2 years after collaborating for Dirkschneider and the Old Gang, Touchdown sure looked to be one promising album. Talk about delivering on such accounts. Just from the opening cut that is Isolation Man, obviously about living during the COVID pandemic, you are immediately thrown into a nostalgic frenzy. It just feels like vintage U.D.O, and with other great cuts like the Double Dealer Gang, the anthemic sounding Forever Free, Sad Man's Show, The Betrayer, which is one of the heaviest cuts off of this one, to Heroes of Freedom, which is about fighting during World War II, then, of course, Better Start to Run, and of course, the title track. If there ever was a time where I actually gave a shit about football, then this song will definitely get me pumped for, watching football and all that. By the way, it is a infectiously fun song nonetheless, but you get what I mean. But of course, for those who are avid football lovers, American football at least, for Europeans out there, then this song is definitely for you. You know who I'm talking to. So there is definitely a strong classic vibe that is felt within these songs. Then I'm reminded, of course, of his classic period. Take, for example, The Battle Understood. I am very reminded of Train Ride to Russia off of Thunderball, but that's merely with the backing vocal cadence. So it's not sung in Russian, but again, it has that similar cadence to it. But when it does, head into the song itself, from there it sounds like it could have been on at least Thunderball. It just has that hooky-like quality to it. And this is one of the songs where Peter Balte's addition is felt, just like with the rest of the album. Speaking of being reminded of things, we also have Fight for the Right, which is classic Accept sounding, sort of reminding me of Wrong is Right off of Metal Heart, which was easily the fastest song off of that one. Even this song has those neoclassical guitar shredding and soloing to accompany this track, giving it that full-fledged Accept sound that Udo has just kept alive. Speaking of Accept, I do have to address the song Punchline, which is one of the album's other heavy songs. There is a very strong possibility that Udo is referring to Wolf Hoffmann with this one. Now, I could be wrong on that account, but if it weren't for Darcy's video, I possibly wouldn't have thought that. But it does have one think on who or what Udo is going on about within this song. But even if it isn't about Wolf Hoffmann, then it still would be a good song to use for whenever you bump into someone who's just acting like a complete dumbass. Now, it can't be a U.D.O album with at least one silly song. This album has Living Hell. Maybe another direct shot at Wolf Hoffmann. Maybe not. Still, I thought that was kind of funny to throw that in there. Which is pretty goddamn hilarious nonetheless. I have never been married nor have a girlfriend at the moment, but for those who have been through those kinds of relationships, then this one possibly speaks to you more. But it's still a hilarious song nonetheless. Now, I never really disliked Game Over, but I did think that the production was lacking, with it sounding too anemic for me. Thankfully that was corrected here, which is why I feel so much more enthusiastic here, but I was also debating with myself back and forth. As much as I have loved the albums, like Steel Factory, Decadent, and Steel Hammer, which I had spotlighted here on this channel recently, I kinda hate to say this, but I think that this one might be stronger than any of those three. I feel that this could be the most catchiest since Thunderball, and the most tightest since classics like Holy, with me being even heavily reminded of a classic like Time Bomb. There seems to be more hooks here than on any of the previous albums. So, all in all, what is surprisingly solid, no pun intended, or pun intended, any way you want to look at it, album this turned out to be. Udo's voice may have, aged here, given his age, but he still puts his heart and soul into what he does, and it's still greatly felt here. And it sure is. So, there you go. There's my thoughts on Touchdown from U.D.O. My rating... I gotta go there. I am giving it a 10 out of 10. It may not be the most original thing, in this day and age, but god damn it, if this album didn't make me want to repeatedly listen to this album, then why shouldn't I give this a 10? You know, why shouldn't I? This album, again, it made me want to listen to more and more of it. You know, I mean, 53 minutes, that might be long, but then again, one of my favorite modern day metal albums is Subversive from Ram. So that one was at least, what, 50 minutes long, so it's kind of there. Of course, there's Wiped Out from Raven, or let's say even Kill 'Em All from Metallica. You know, those are like classic sort of 50-minute albums, or Power Slave from Iron Maiden. So 13 tracks, 53 minutes, you know what? Or at least over 53 minutes if you really think about it. But still, for as long as it is, it's at least shorter than Game Over. But again, it also has a lot of catchiness to it, and the songs are just more memorable. And I think are more memorable than any of the ones on the previous couple of albums or that U.D.O have released. Let's say like Steel Hammer, again, as Decadent, and of course Steel Factory, and those are all good albums nonetheless, but something about this one just, I think, gels way more for me than any of those three. So it's always, of course, nice to hear Udo's voice all the time, man. It's just nice that, of course, to hear another album within this year from him, and it's, you know, it's always a treat. But I think he just came back in 2023 with a much stronger release, and I think it sure is a very strong album. But for those who have any thoughts on this album, if they are positive or negative, you can leave them in the comment section below. But if you haven't listened to this album, do check it out. I recommend it. Even if you may not come out sharing the same views or thoughts that I share here, or at least that I have here, then you can, of course, let me know in the comment section below. So with that, this is Heavy Thrasher saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later here. Take care, everyone.